Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Hardwood Nations podcast with your boy CL Anthony and my little white buddy Bryce. What's going on, Bryce?
Not much. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I mean, I almost fucked up that intro, but we got through it. That one I almost messed up. Last week or the week before last, I nailed it, but that one I got a little nervous on. Good week for you.
You did
Good week
good.
for the, huh?
No, you did good, man.
Hey, so I know it's been a good week for you. Good week for the NBA. Good week for the Brooklyn Nets last night, especially. Taking game one of the series against the Milwaukee Bucks. A couple of observations that I have about that game, outside of James Harden being lost with a hamstring issue again. My key to this series is going to be the matchup between Brooke Lopez and Blake Griffin. I haven't watched a lot of the Nets this season. I had no idea that Blake Griffin was playing center for Brooklyn. Um, we know how big Brooke Lopez is and how big he can play, especially against what we just saw with against the Miami Heat. So that's going to be my key to this series. The funny thing is, Brooke Lopez ended up with 19 points. Blake Griffin had 18 points, but Blake Griffin had 14 rebounds. Brooke Lopez only had five. So I think that's going to be the key to this series as to which team will come out on top. What do you think about Brooke Lopez's contribution as well as Blake Griffin's contribution to this series?
Well, I didn't see Blake Griffin quite contributing the way he did, especially early on in the season. Like the way he was playing with Detroit was, I don't know, like lackluster, or maybe he was still experiencing pain or something. I don't know, but it definitely seems way different. Uh, like the effort he's putting on the court. And it is a playoff game, but yeah, he was the standout yesterday for Brooklyn. And with Harden going down, you're gonna need someone to step. You're gonna need some of the other players to just bring up their game a little bit to try to make up for what he's bringing. But Blake had a great game. By his standards right now. And do I agree? Like, if him and Brooke are gonna be like the deciding factors, it's hard for me to see like Brooke Lopez having that kind of a factor on it. I could see like Blake Griffin a few years ago, but it's like we're getting down to our like third options here. It's like I guess I guess they're gonna affect it that much. It's just hard for me to think Brooke Lopez is gonna affect the series that much, even though he did affect the Miami series just by having that big body in there.
Well, yeah,
I mean, so
he's the
I
biggest
don't know. That's
body.
a tough question.
Yeah, he's the biggest body on the court. And in the beginning of the game yesterday, in the first half, he was really dominant outside of his rebound numbers. But Brooklyn can still counter by bringing in DeAndre Jordan. So they can still counter him. Yesterday, they didn't do it as much because Blake Griffin was quicker to the rebounds than Brooke Lopez was. But if in the event that Brooke Lopez can control the rebounds, Milwaukee's going to have a huge advantage. But like I said, the Nets can still counter. So let's just see how long that happens. But kudos to Brooklyn, kudos to Blake Griffin because he did kind of phone it in Detroit, but now he's showing that he wants it. So that's good. Kyrie's 1-1. Kevin Durant's 1-2. We know James Harden hasn't, but he's not there. So yeah, Blake Griffin has to be the hungriest one of the three right now, by virtue of him not winning the championship yet. But again, kudos to the Nets, and let's see how how Milwaukee comes back. But Brooklyn did what they were supposed to do. They won the first home game. Let's see if they win the second one or if Milwaukee can take it from them. So,
It's going to be a tough series. I'm
mm,
glad to see Blake is playing well, though, because, unfortunately, he just started, like, getting injured and at a time in his career where he started falling off instead of, making an impact. So I'm glad to see, he's still got something in the tank. And, for Brooke Lopez, he's been around for a while, but he's got to start. 5 rebounds isn't enough, you know,
yeah.
especially with the way that Milwaukee team can kind of capitalize off those rebounds. So I don't know. It's going to be a great series. I think I'm gonna pick Brooklyn. Who's your pick
Oh,
to
Brooklyn.
come out the series?
I got Brooklyn in 6.
Gotcha.
So, sorry, I was texting Kevin, let him know that we're doing double duty today. I texted him yesterday just to give him a heads up. That's why I got my energy. Where is it? There it is. Got my energy drink today, so I'm doing double duty.
You're gonna need another one to deal with Kevin.
Kevin's awesome.
No, I know. I'm just saying he's high energy, man.
He is our yeah. He is our look. This is for the Heat Lifers podcast that we're gonna record later on today. I'm gonna do what you suggested, Bryce, because I know Kevin's kind of like Skip Bayless. You give him a one topic and just let him go. So I'm just gonna say, Kevin, what does Miami have to do? And
Hmm.
just let him go. So I'm gonna do that
That's your
for the
whole
Heat.
podcast right there.
That's gonna be the whole podcast, yo. And it's gonna be so passionate too. All right. So speaking of the Miami Heat, since we last recorded, they got eliminated by the Milwaukee Bucks. They got swept in 4 games. I know you want to know how I felt about that, and I kind of touched on it a little bit last week with our special edition podcast, and only 3 people saw apparently. But with that said, um, there's going to be sweeping changes for Miami. As I said in that video, 5 to 7 players are going to be traded. Pat Riley has indicated in his postseason address that I saw yesterday that there are going to be big changes coming to Miami. But he did say our core is Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and then unfortunately Tyler Hero. So he said that's going to be the core. I need Tyler gone. I've made no mistake about it. Anyone who asks me, I need him gone. But that's who Pat Riley sees as the core moving forward. That's what we're going to have to deal with. In other news, the Los Angeles Lakers, the other NBA finalists from last year, also got eliminated by the Phoenix Suns. Tell me your thoughts about that series first, and then secondly, we'll get into the Anthony Davis situation.
um, I picked the Lakers to win that series. When AD went down, I knew they couldn't win that series. I brought it up to you. I said it would it would be different if the Lakers went in as the number 1 or 2 seed and they were playing number 8 Phoenix. It's a different mentality, but that's not the case. Phoenix has been good all year. They've been number 1 or 2 most of the season, and they played with the confidence like they could beat them with AD anyways. But when he went down, to me, there's no question on who was going to win that series. You had like the leadership of Chris Paul to make sure they didn't fall into the dumb kind of traps and situations a young team might fall into to make that series more dramatic. So I think having him there helped solidify it, even though, with the arm injury, he was a little not at 100%, I guess you could say. But Devin Booker played well enough to where, and the rest of that team, Ayton, um, they played like they were supposed to. And Devin Booker lit the arena on fire almost every game. So kudos to those guys. They deserve to be there. They deserve to be probably in the Western Finals. But this series is going to be tough. This next series is going to be way tough for them. So both teams. But I think a lot of it has to do with the quick turnaround for this season. Those 2 teams had to play longer and deeper, the Heat and the Lakers, than any other team, and then turn right around. I think the fact they were both there last year is. I know Lakers fans expected the Lakers to be there, but I didn't expect them to win the championship their first year. So it's kind of like they're ahead of pace, and then no one expected the Miami Heat to be in the finals last year. So that one hurts. If you're a Heat fan, I think a little bit more because you didn't get the championship and you took a big step back this year. But at least you have a clear picture of what the GM wants to do and the direction he wants to go in. I'm not sure I agree with Tyler Hero being as like one of the 3 major pieces. And maybe it's a little early, but I'm not sure Bam is that anymore either. So you guys have a lot of questions to answer. I think it's going to be a tough off season.
Well, Bam can be that, but he wouldn't be the second option. He would be the third option. We need to bring in a second option. So I think that's what they're going to explore this offseason. I mean, every offseason you hear the Heat and all these damn rumors and shit. It's like whatever. I don't care until it happens. So we've already heard them being tied to Kawhi. We've already heard that they've called Portland about Dame, and even talked to the Bulls about Zach LaVine. So my opinion is this: as a longtime Heat fan, Bam Adebayo is not a second go-to guy. He's just not yet. He's a third go-to guy. Um, they asked Pat Riley yesterday, do they think Bam should start shooting threes? And I'm like in my head like, oh fuck no, 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 we don't need that. We don't need that from him. We need him to play big. Now he's not the biggest guy on the court, but we need him to play that way. We need him to play big, and you can do it. But he's a third option, so we need to find us a good second option to complement Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy does all things, and he does all things, but he still needs help. And unfortunately, Bam didn't give him the amount of help. Unfortunately, Tyler Hero disappeared completely against Milwaukee. So for whatever reasons, be it tired, be it injuries, they didn't show up this year. So there's going to be some changes. And the good thing about Miami is we only have 5 players who have a guaranteed roster spot going into the season. So that gives us a lot of flexibility. Um, as far as the Lakers, LeBron did mention, hey, these two teams, we went deep, like you said, into the playoffs, tired, injuries, whatever. And we did talk about this the other day, and I forgot to mention that I saw LeBron physically more worn out in this series than I've ever seen him before. That could be age, along with playing in a bubble as deep as he did. So let me ask you this question: we know, we're not bronze sexuals, as Cortez can say. We know LeBron James is at the end of his career. No one wants to talk about it. The guy probably has 3 to 4 years left, is pushing it, maybe 2 to 3 years left. He is at the end of his career. Do you think we can see prime LeBron anymore? Because they needed prime LeBron in this series, and he just couldn't. He couldn't rise to that level. So, do you think we're done seeing prime LeBron?
I think, yeah, it's like the Barkley quote. And it's still great. Like if you look at like LeBron's seasonal stats, he's still like he's up there in the top 1% of players or whatever. It's still impressive, but he's not. I don't know unless it's against a really bad team if he has what it takes just on his own to have greatness for a series. You can't. It's just too
Right,
much to ask for him at this point. Yeah, I do agree with
right.
that. I don't know how many seasons he's got left because I mean we just don't know the capacity in which he wants to keep playing and everything. But I would initially agree 3 to 4 seasons with minutes and impact kind of winding down a little bit and depending on how injured he gets. But you got to think he's going to be in the playoffs every year. He is gonna play that extended time every year. But yeah, it's time for him to start winding down a little bit. Unfortunately, um, the Lakers probably only have another couple seasons to really capitalize and get a championship with him. But I don't think he can be great all the time and lead the team by himself. He can still have great nights, like Barkley said, but he can't keep up that production. The age thing, it's just gonna catch up to him. It happens.
Yeah, I'm a proponent of allowing athletes to age gracefully. As you know, I'm a big LeBron James critic, but he deserves the right to age gracefully, and just to drop that Barkley quote again. Boy, I can't talk today. To drop that Barkley quote again because it was so profound. At the end of his career, he said he's not a great player anymore, but some nights he can still be great. And I think that's how we have to look at LeBron James. And a funny story is, when Shaq was in Miami, even though he played a few years in Phoenix and even 1 year in Boston after his Miami years, his last dominant stretch was when he was in Miami. And he started playing horrible. We're talking about Shaquille O'Neal, but he would have some games where he would score 10 points, 15 points. His career average was like 29, okay? So, but Shaq would have about 5 games a year where he would have to play against a rookie center, and then he would drop 30 and 20, and then everybody's like, "Oh, Shaq's back, Shaq's back," and then the next game he's like 15 points again. So yeah,
Yeah.
LeBron deserves to age gracefully, to age out, and I think that process is starting now. Because I'm telling you, he was asking out of the game. He asked out of the game twice in the fourth quarter. He was gassed in that elimination game. But kudos to Phoenix though. Absolutely, they took it. Devin Booker reminds me of Paul Pierce, just a half a step faster than Pierce though, but he can get to any spot that he wants on the court like Pierce could, and just knock it down. So that's who he reminds me of. Bigger issue, an issue that I had, a situation I had a huge issue with was Anthony Davis trying to play in Game Six. That is a 3 to 4 week injury. That is not a 2 to 3 day injury. So for the medical staff of the Lakers, they said the medical staff cleared him to try to play. That is a huge issue. Either it's a lie or they're incompetent. It shouldn't have happened. How do you feel about Anthony Davis trying to play with that injury?
From Davis's perspective, I get at least trying to get on the court and seeing what it felt like, you know. But with that being said, it should have ended earlier in the day at the
Hmm.
practice facility. Once they actually saw Davis moving, unless they gave him something and he moved better earlier, what I saw on the court, there was no way he should have made it out of like a practice facility.
Right,
He shouldn't have been dressed ready to go, because it didn't take a lot to see like a few movements from him and to see how uncomfortable and how
right.
limited he was, and that was just the eye test on TV. So um I don't know what kind of pressure these medical teams get from the higher ups or the management and the team ownership, but my opinion is he shouldn't even have been dressed for the game. Like, if you saw him earlier in the day, there's no reason why you should have cleared him. I don't know why they did. If they're, like you said, incompetent, if they were told they need to, it could have been a morale thing where AD just wanted to say, I just want to try, maybe, get my teammates pumped. If you're an athlete, if you're competitive, you want to, no matter what, you want to say, I want to go, even if you know you can't. Like I said, it could have been a morale boost thing, but he shouldn't have actually been on the court, in my opinion.
Right,
He just shouldn't
right.
even gotten that close. But
Th-
I don't know the reasoning. I disagreed with it the moment I saw it. I was like, there's no way. I mean, there's no way he can play. So
hmm.
why risk having your number one player on your team basically going forward? Why would you even risk it? It's too much of a risk.
Yeah, and the thing is, and a lot of people aren't talking about this. Davis played the first 5 minutes of that game, and the Lakers never led the game. So Phoenix led from start until finish. And for those first 5 minutes, Phoenix was attacking Davis. He couldn't move backwards. He couldn't move laterally. He could move forward a little bit, but every time he moved, he was grabbing his groin. So the way I look at it is, and a lot of people haven't talked about this, if they wouldn't have played Davis from the beginning, that might have would have gave the Lakers a better shot of winning that game if they would have had a different game plan. But once Phoenix saw Davis out there, they attacked him so hard and jumped out. They had a 22-point lead at the end of the first quarter and pushed it up to 29 in the second quarter. This is crazy. They had so much momentum just because of the start of the game where they kept attacking Davis. And I'm like, these are fucking idiots to have him out there, from the coaching staff to the medical staff. He shouldn't have played. Period. He should not have played. And
I
they
agree.
have bigs. They have big. Drummond didn't even play that game. You have bigs. You didn't have to play Anthony Davis. You just didn't. It was ridiculous.
I know, man. I couldn't believe he was out there.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And I know the Lakers are a Class A organization. No shots to them, but somebody has to really look at that. Somebody has to look at that. And to put a cap on this, yesterday I saw Magic Johnson kind of ether Dennis Schroeder. Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, Magic Johnson said that that guy's not Laker material and he doesn't fit with the team, doesn't even need to be with the team
Yeah.
going forward. So Magic still, even though he's not in front office anymore, he still owns a little bit of the team. and had some pull behind the scenes. So I thought that was damning for Magic to come out and single out this kid.
Yeah, for
I
real.
was like, wow. All right, another main topic that we have: the world knows our love for Portland and Damian Lillard. So Lillard got sent home immediately after uh, the organization and head coach Terry Stotts mutually agreed to part ways, but we know what that means. He's like, we don't want you back, so we're just going to say that we're parting ways. We're not going to say we fired you, but that's what we did. All right. So, how do you feel about the future of the Portland Trailblazers now without Terry Stotts as the head coach? And do you think Dame should finally move on?
I think Dame should move on. Was that coach there the whole time Dame was there, or was Dame there longer?
No, that there may be a year or so of overlapping, but Terry Stotts has been there for 9 years.
Okay, so I think that's a big sign too that maybe Dame should move on. I know sometimes just the coaching change can do a lot, but I think just currently constructed, that team is still just missing something. They haven't been able to figure that out. Um, I know so far Dame in his entire career has been loyal to them, so it wouldn't surprise me. But just as a Lillard fan, I'd like to see him go someplace else and just try something different, because it's just that Portland can almost like fool you thinking they added something or changed something better, but really they've only had one season where they were really getting close to having a championship caliber team. Just 1 year. I mean, they've made the playoffs and stuff, but I mean, what good is that really? You kind of stay stagnant if you're at the bottom of that playoff tier and you can't make it out of the first round, right? You're just
Right.
stuck there. So I hate to see that for a guy that's as talented as Lillard. He's clearly been loyal, so it's not on him. I'd like to see him try something else, but I mean, he made it clear who he wanted as a coach, so that makes me think he's just gonna stay. But how much is having Jason Kidd there going to change the culture and the situation enough to where you don't get bumped from the first round anymore? Like that's not the only thing they have to worry about. I mean, so I don't know what else they're going to do.
Jason Kidd hasn't proven that he's a good coach. The only thing Jason Kidd has proven is that whoever the hell his agent is spectacular. He has a great agent. Jason Kidd didn't work out in Brooklyn when he had the old heads there. He definitely didn't work out in Milwaukee when he clashed with Giannis. I don't know Dame's affection for Jason Kidd. I don't. If you can't coach Giannis and can't get along with Giannis, who's one of the nicer guys in the league, how the fuck do you think you're gonna get along with Dame? Like I don't understand this attraction to Jason Kidd. I've never understood him, even as a coach. So Portland's they may try to placate him and get Kidd there, but Kidd's gonna try. Jason Kidd is very selfish. Let me just put it out there. He's very selfish. He's been selfish since he was a rookie in this league, fucking his teammate's girlfriend. Jason Kidd's been selfish his whole career. Now that Jason Kidd knows that Damian wants him, he's gonna try to bleed Portland dry as far as a big money contract. So now will Portland go for that? I don't know. So if Portland doesn't go for it, then they're gonna have to move Dame because Dame's gonna be like, well, I told you who I wanted, and you won't pull up the money to get him. So it it's a dicey situation. We both think Dame should move on. Three teams I know have called: the Knicks, the Heat, the Clippers have all called Portland already about Dame. I think he should move on, but I just don't. I agree with you. I don't think Jason Kidd is the guy that can make a huge impact there for that team. What I will say is that GM has been there forever. So the owner needs to take a look at him. And I believe the owner is still Paul Allen. He needs to take a look at Neil O'Shea, who is the GM, and be like, look, what have you done lately? Because you've been here forever. You're the one that built these teams that Terry Stotts had to coach. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's
but
who I'd be questioning, because it seems like they've never taken that big move, that big
mhm,
risk. Look, you've had Dame this long. Swing for the fences at
Right.
least once or twice on someone else. I know you guys like McCollum. All right, I get that, and I
They
know
got to move him.
he can ball, but that 1-2 punch isn't enough.
Right.
And getting B-list big men who decide to play one game and not the next, or doesn't have like a prolific career. Nurkic's okay. What's the other guy they picked up for the Heat from the Wild? Whiteside.
Yeah,
He
they
was
had him
okay.
for a little
Yeah,
while. Yeah.
but they need a significant another piece, and you don't try it. They just try little things. Well, how long has the GM been there? You're going to tell me you can't get someone else in that amount of time? Look how many teams Harden alone has been on. I mean, take a pick of players in the league. How many did you really put your neck out to try to get? Because I would be looking at him pretty hard if I'm the Blazers, because it just seems like they're wasting Dame's career.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, the GM's been there a long time, and I saw something else to put a cap on this topic. I saw something that was really neat. LaMarcus Aldridge, and I'm paraphrasing, said that he wished that he would have been closer with Dame during their brief time together. So I thought that was a little neat, because when LaMarcus Aldridge left, there was a rift between those guys. So for him to acknowledge that now that his career is over, I thought that was pretty neat. And maybe those guys can reconnect, and maybe Aldridge can get a position in the front office somewhere as like an intern or something with Portland, because he was a big part of that team early on. Like they early on they tried, with Greg Oden, with Brandon Roy, who was
Mm-hmm.
spectacular before his knees failed him. They did try, but they didn't try hard enough. So all right,
Aldridge seemed like the last big attempt they tried to pair another guy with Dame, but Aldridge wasn't in the beginning or middle of his career. He was at the tail end of it.
yeah, he was getting to the end here.
Yeah.
Um, so we had a surprise yesterday, and I know this one hits home to you. We had a little surprise yesterday. We know the Orlando Magic started cleaning house this year, made some big moves at the trade deadline to detonate the team, and apparently head coach Steve Clifford didn't understand and didn't like it, and had conversations with ownership and management over the last several weeks, and then both sides. I don't know why I can't talk today. Both sides came to the conclusion that they need to go their separate ways. How do you feel about that?
I was kind of hoping Clifford would stick around. I like that. He has generally, with the lineups he's been given, I felt like has found success for the Magic since he's been there. So I never had a problem with him. I can understand him not wanting to go through another rebuild process like the Magic, like the front office were trying to construct.
Hmm.
So I don't blame him. It's not the Scott Styles situation all over again. So at least this one ended. He was here for a while. He tried his thing. We couldn't stay healthy. When we had the team, I felt like he did a good job. So I hate to see him go because I liked him. But I get why he wants to. And if he wants to, then they need to, that needed to happen. I don't want someone here who doesn't want to be here. We got another young core. If you're going to do it, this is the time to do it. So it was a little unexpected, but I mean, what are you going to do? It went as well as you could hope, I guess. And I mean, if the rumors are true about who they're looking into, the Magic to replace him, then we'll just have to wait and see. But I guess the rumor is, what's that guy's Tots? What's his name?
Yeah, Stotts. Yeah.
Stotts, my God. So that's why I was asking if he was there the whole time Dame was, because we're going to have young guys that need some direction. He's going to have to pick the who's who, and set it, if that's who we get, that I'll be happy with that for now to see what the team does. It's just everything's a toss up for the Magic. You don't know who we're going to get in the draft because you just don't know yet. We don't have a head coach anymore. And we have a bunch of injuries still, even with our younger guys that we know they're going to try to keep. So Magic fans need to really temper those expectations again for next year, because it's just going to be a mess. is how I feel.
Well, they won't because they're Magic fans and they're irrational. But I can imagine the conversation going like this with Stephen Clifford went into the front office was like, I didn't sign up for this shit. Or y'all blew up the team. This is not what I signed up for. What the hell are you guys doing?
I would
I
have
will.
said you signed up for a team that was already in disarray. If you didn't think this could happen, you're just acting
It's
dumb.
like,
See you later.
I mean, I will say this: the brain trust you guys have, of course, comes from Milwaukee. They used to have
Hmm.
Terry Stotts in Milwaukee, so there's a connection there. Um, some Magic fans are clamoring for Penny Hardaway, who's coaching Memphis in college ball right now. They're clamoring for Penny Hardaway to come back and be the head coach. I don't think that's the route you need to go right now with an unproven team and an unproven coach. I don't think that's the that's not the route to go. But nothing's working right now. So I mean, you know, I, I'm shocked that Clifford decided to go. I'm really shocked by that. I've said this to you. I've said this to Gerald, who's a Magic fan. I think I've even said this to Cortez. As long as Alex Martins is running that team, they won't be successful as far as on the basketball court. They just won't. Off the court, he's a great businessman. I get it. As far as basketball operations, he needs to be gone. That's just the beginning and end of it. It needs to be gone. Sometimes you can't run a professional sports organization like a business. You have to have some basketball guys in there. And what I mean is even above the front office, like you have to have some basketball guys or have an advisor to who's ever running things. And he's shown over the last few years that it's just not work. It's not. How many coaches have you guys been through? How many times have you guys blown up the team? So th-
Yeah, I know. I know that it would definitely help if that were to happen. But it's like, um, I don't even think it's gotten like since the Dwight Howard era. It's like never gotten that far. It's like to
mhm.
me, most of the weight should come down onto the GM and those front offices. And I'm talking about pre when we got the Milwaukee crew in there because that set us back a long time. So I think Martin should take some blame for that, like how they rearranged and put people in power for a while. I think we have the right team of management in there right now to kind of make some okay decisions. We'll see going forward, but I don't know how they structure their money and how they spend their money. But it seems like when the Magic were good, they were willing to spend money and do things to in an effort to try to keep them good. You know, like they tried to be competitive, even though they made terrible decisions on where to spend that money, like on the players and stuff. But the team, they were like, it seemed like attempting to stay competitive and good. So I don't know what Alex Martin does that other teams don't, or what he doesn't do that other teams do. But I don't know how much of it is that compared to the disarray that the front office has had until recently, down to the coach changes, which I contribute back up to the management, like the GM and everything you have for a while. I mean, Hennigan set us back for another 5 to 6, 7 years. And so I just don't know how much of that should fall on the Alex Martins. I'm not saying we don't need a change there. I'm just saying like what I see is like below Martins down was the problem. And I thought Steve Clifford was going to be part of that solution, and he was for a while. And I thought this Milwaukee like group that came from there, I thought they would add some clarity and some like just normal feeling to the Magic. And for the most part, they have it outside of the injuries, but from the bottom to the top, it seems like the Magic have needed a change. And like I said, I don't know how much of it falls on Martins. I know we've had that talk and how you feel. I just don't know how it works enough to say that guy needs to be gone when I've had so many questions about the coaching before and the management staff before. So it's like in my eyes, we have to go up the ladder before we get up to Martins to know like that for sure is the problem to me. when I see all these other problems they've had. I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, to me, before we even get up to that high on the list of the problems, I feel like there's these underlying issues that the Magic have to get figured out before you can, without a doubt, be like, well, this guy is completely wrong in how he's running the money of the team.
Well, here's the structure. So you have the DeVos family. I know Papa DeVos died a couple of years ago. I don't know if his wife is calling the shots or one of his children are calling the shots, but you have the DeVos family. Then underneath that you have Alex Martins. Then underneath that is where you have the front office. Okay, so like you just explained, Steve Clifford is gone. He was supposed to be a change. Before him, I can't remember who the head coach was. Borrega, who's in Charlotte right now, was coaching for a little while. You had Scott Skiles there for a little while. Before Scott Skiles, I can't remember who the coach was. Alex Martins has had probably 6 or 7 coaches because he's been in Orlando forever. He's probably had 6 or 7 coaches. He had, as far as front offices, the Milwaukee guys. Before that, he had Rob Hennigan, who did set the franchise back, I would say that. And then before that, you had Otis Smith. That's still all on Alex Martin's watch. So that's the last 10 years of Magic front offices there. So if I'm the DeVos family, I'm looking at Martins and I'm saying, hey, in the last 10 years, we've had 3 different front offices. We did get one finals run out of it, but we had 3 different front offices, 6 or 7 head coaches. We even have a farm system in Lakeland. You mean to tell me you can't get better talent in here? Because let's not forget about the farm system in Lakeland. So it's just like, what's the disconnect? What's going on? So if you have a guy, think about it like this. If you have a guy who's working under no pressure, if the DeVos family isn't putting pressure on him to put a winner on a court, he's free to do whatever he wants. All I'm saying is that he needs to have a little pressure put on him. You need to have a winner in this time frame or else. That's how the conversation needs to go. Period. So let's just use San Antonio or Miami as an example. Miami is right down the road. You have Mickey Arison, you have Pat Riley, and then you have the front office. Who's the face of the franchise? It's not the owner. Pat Riley is the face of the franchise. Therefore, all the pressure is on him to produce a winner. Like you said, no one expected the Heat to go to the finals last year. The Miami Heat, no matter what team they have, are competitive every single year. Even when we blow it up, we're competitive every single year. Why can't Alex Martins do that in Orlando? He's had years to he's had over 10 years to do this. Why hasn't he been able to do it? And the few times he's had it, it got blown up. Otis Smith blew it up. Rob Hennigan drafted anything that he thought was pretty and blew it up. And now the Milwaukee guys are blowing it up because they're like, okay, we've been here 3 years, but now we have to set it back again. Who's the constants in that picture? Is Alex Martins. That's the constant. We know people in Orlando are fed up. Only because we're right down the road. We know people in Orlando are fed up. We know people are calling for new ownership for the Magic. Maybe that has to happen for this organization to have some consistency as far as winning. I want the Magic to win. Trust me. Trust me. I want them to win. I want them to be a good team. So I see this guy who's had this job, and he's great on the business end. He's great. I give him that. He's great. But you need a good basketball product as well. Because as great as you are on the business end, if your basketball product was well, your business end would be even better. And that's how they have to look at it. So from ownership down to Alex Martins, there's no pressure. They need to sit
Yeah.
that guy down. They need to sit that guy down and be like, look, you're in charge. You have 3 years to get us a contender. 3 years. And when I mean by contender, I mean at least even a tight second round playoff matchup or a conference finals appearance. First round ain't we're done with first rounds. Steve Clifford gave you first rounds 2 years in a row before you blew out the team. So we know you can do that. But pressure has to be put on that guy or he has to be out of a job. We see executives get fired all the time in the NBA. This guy's been in Orlando for damn near 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's been there for 20 years.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Like, I mean, that's what I would want to do too. If I was, you know, if I was the ownership of the team at this point, like how much leeway are you going to give him just because of these other things that have happened?
Right.
Whether or not they were his fault or not, he was the decision maker to hire some people for a long time. So
Right.
it's not like you gotta hate him or anything, but it's just like, well, this just hasn't worked up to this point, for whatever reason. And like I said, you can come up with a lot of different reasons. But yeah, it's just like at some point, I guess time for some new blood and something else.
Yeah, and their
Because
loyalty
like
to
I
him.
don't necessarily have a problem with him or anything. Like it just hasn't worked yet. So like
Yeah,
you said,
their loyalty to him is that he's one of the Magic originals. I forgot what position he started at, but he's had multiple positions within that organization. So that's their loyalty to him, and that's fine. You can remove him from this position and make him a figurehead to do whatever, keep an ambassador to the team. You can still keep him within the franchise, or you can keep his current role and just bring in a basketball guy right next to him. Because like I said, he's a great businessman. The Magic has deep ties in Orlando. Deep, deep, deep ties, and they do great for the community over there. But the basketball product hasn't been there. Outside of Shaq and Penny, outside of Dwight Howard and that crew, the winning hasn't been there. And that's at some point we see executives lose their job all the time for less. For less. At some point, he has to have pressure put on him to produce a winner. You can't just wait for a team to get lucky. You can't do that. Oh well, we'll wait 10 more years and then we'll get lucky again. That's not how you do it. It's not. Um,
it makes me wonder like what other teams are doing, because it's like I don't pay attention to like say the other teams that have been notoriously bad. Like I don't
mhm,
really know why the Kings can never get going,
mhm.
or why even though the Knicks have all the money in the world, they only have a good team once every 20 years or something. It's like even compared to those teams, it's like I would rather have been a Magic fan through those eras than those teams. It's like what exactly, if it seems so obvious on how you put together a decent basketball product, then it's like how do some of these other teams make any money at all when it seems like there's like no attempt almost. And like I said, I'm not like a fan of the Kings, so I can't tell you. I just know like they've had Vladi there for a while, right?
Oh, he's in
Has it
Sacramento.
changed anything? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he's a basketball guy, but he's just their GM, so I don't know. But I'm just saying like how do the teams that are notoriously always bad, how
Mhm.
does it never work for them? Like a good example is the Kings. Like they can never get anything going ever. It seems like, and the entire time I've watched basketball, even when they get a good rookie talent, he's gone within 5 years or whatever. Like they can't do anything. So it's like,
Mhm.
what's the reasoning? Some of these teams, like, is it just not money spending? Is it the wrong ownership? It just seems like eventually the team would either just move
Well,
or get sold.
you have different philosophies as far as how to build a team. So with Sacramento, Sacramento is actually similar to Orlando, to where big time free agents will not come. They just won't come because the name of the organization has been soiled so bad. So that means you have to build it up homegrown. Um, you have to be able to draft well. So that's where Sacramento's messing up at. Buddy Hield's a good player. He's not a superstar. Let's, let's just be real. He's not an all-star. He's a good player. They need to draft better. We know that there are, and I'm not picking at the Magic, but we know the Magic have had some bad picks in the draft. One thing that the Magic will do, they will draft a great kid, a great character kid. They might not always draft the most talented kid. You get what I'm saying? So
Mm.
you want to have good players and good people on your team, but I think this current management style, that's who they go after more so. And then God knows we had Hennigan and his faults.
I don't even like
We know.
talking about him again.
Look, I miss picking on Hennigan, but like I said, if the player wasn't pretty enough, Hennigan wasn't going to draft him. We know that. And now
There's
you
like
have
two
these.
people I'd fight on site, and him again. It might be one. Like for no
Yeah,
reason, never met him before. But if I saw him, I'm like, I gotta hit him in the face.
and then it's the same thing with the Knicks. So the Knicks have between the Magic, Sacramento, and the Knicks have the most money. But their reputation was soiled because their front office was always in disarray. Big time free agents wouldn't want to come, so the money didn't need anything. So now you had to do homegrown building, which the Knicks aren't that good at. They just aren't that good at. So, but now here's the thing: between the three teams right now, who has the brighter future? New York has, because they're the first one to get back to the playoffs, and they have Tom Thibodeau there. They actually have stability there in New York. So New York's going to build off of this year.
Oh yeah.
Sacramento's dead. Sacramento's dead in the water. Orlando's dead in the water until, but there has to be a spark, and there hasn't been a spark since Dwight Howard. Let's be real.
Mm.
Oladipo and Peyton didn't work together. Isaac and Obama hasn't worked, even though Isaac's been hurt. Fultz, we still don't know because he's out. So
Mm-hmm.
it's tough. The Magic has had some bad breaks, but at some point, the finger has to turn to Alex Martins at some point because like I
Mm-hmm.
said, you've gone through 6 or 7 coaches, you've gone through 3 front offices, and you're still there. it's just like, it's like you're still there. It's like, come
Mm-hmm.
on.
That's why I'm
So
gonna have to get a Cole Anthony shirt or something. Just put all my support into that kid because he seems like he might have something.
that might be that right there might be a spark. But now here's the thing: what's going to happen when Fultz comes back? They play the same position, so now you have a situation, right? Because Fultz already you just paid Fultz and then you went down with that ACL. Then you have Cole Anthony rise up. Might be an issue going forward. Fultz might be the odd man out, but like I said, you have money tied into him. So
Also, I mean, we'll have to see the dynamic those guys play together because where Fultz has been developing a slightly more consistent shot, he's still his main weapons are crashing to the basket, dishing out.
mhm,
Okay, he plays more traditional point guard than what Cole Anthony is a shooting guard to
mhm,
me. I mean, I don't know what he was technically playing as when he would check into some of the games or whatever, but to me, he's more of a shooting guard. If those guys can play the right way together, I don't see a problem with it. We're comparing, or when we say those, they might have those issues. The old tandem of Peyton and Oladipo come to mind, and a big problem with that was neither guys in the beginning. Oladipo wasn't known for knocking down jumpers either. Like he could hit shots, but
right,
neither one of those guys could shoot. That
right,
was a big
right,
problem. It's like,
right.
okay, well Peyton can do his thing, but we have to have shooting. Their styles were too similar. I'm not saying it will work. I'm just saying it's worth a look to see if those guys can play together, because there's no way with what you've seen that you bet against Cole Anthony right now. The odd man out for me would be Fultz in that situation, just because he has been injured and blah 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 whatever. I like him. I hope they don't have that issue like they used to, but they very well could. And then it depends who they try to draft.
Hmm.
We've got big young guys,
Hmm.
we've got young guards. So at least two of them. So it's like, what are you gonna, how's that dynamic gonna be? The only reason I thought the Stotts idea of having him come in might be okay at first would just be because he was able to start off with Dame and McCollum being young, and despite them not being able to get to the finals, he was at least able to get that team competitive. Um, I don't know how competitive the Magic are going to be at first. We're going to be young, so I don't know realistically how many wins we're going to hope to get. But in terms of managing the personnel and the dynamics of a younger team, that guy, at least I know he's done it over in another area and was able to at least figure out the situation enough for the team to get along and play as right as they could together.
Yeah.
Portland didn't have the right pieces, so the Magic might not have the right pieces to be successful going forward, but I don't have like a lot of distrust or I don't have confidence in that coach to not pull it off. So we'll see. But I don't know who a clear favorite to me would be to get that coaching job. I just know that if they got Stotts, it wouldn't be like the end of the world for me. I'd give the guy a shot. But I don't know. Like the Magic, man, it's a
Stotts
frustrating team. to root for. But I have hope in some of these young players going forward, and I like Cole. I hope him and Fultz can play well together because I want to see what Fultz can do if he can stay healthy. I don't want to write that kid off either. It's just a lot of questions.
Yeah, Stotts is the safe pick, so I'm not against the pick for Stotts. He's the safe pick. Fultz's injury could be a blessing in disguise because he's not going to be doing as much crashing as he did before. So now he can be more of a facilitator. He was already trending towards being that, but now he can be more of a facilitator for Cole Anthony, who should play the two guard. What the Magic need to do, they need to draft a wing, not a big. They need to draft a wing, an athletic wing. Think of a Jason Tatum. You know I'm not big on him, but that's the type of player that you need. That's who they wanted your boy Aaron Gordon to
Aaron
be,
Gordon, yeah.
but we know why Hennigan drafted him, but he wasn't. He wasn't that. Okay, he wasn't that. Devin Booker could have been that. We all know the Magic passed on Devin Booker. Devin Booker definitely was
Man,
that.
shut your mouth. A lot of teams pass on a lot of players. I don't want to talk
But
about who we passed on.
but
Bitch.
that's the type. But that's the type of player that you guys need to draft to complement those young guards. If I was in the front office, that's what I would do. So let's see what they do. I think they're done with trying to draft the young bigs. God knows they need to be done with that, because you're still going to have Isaac coming back. So we'll see what Isaac can bring. I think Bamba, that's done. Once his rookie contract is up, that's it for him. Um, there is light.
Isaac's the real talent there.
Yeah,
Isaac's the one we're waiting on.
yeah. There's light at the end of the tunnel, but it just almost seems like, and to put a cap on it, it almost seems like the Magic are the hamster in a little spinning wheel, and they just spin. They just run and just spin all the time and go in
Well,
circles.
I was just gonna say it's like every time we think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, we just realize we're still in the tunnel. It's like
Right.
it's
Right.
like really on paper a few times we thought we were gonna pull off like having a decent team, and like you said, yeah, it sucks because we didn't make it out of the first round, but we made it to the first round a couple of times, and especially the last 2 years hurt with the injuries because I really thought we could have had an okay team. It's just what it is. Like there's no way around some of those injuries, but you have to have everything else right to consistently put yourself in a position to take
Right.
advantage of those good teams. So
Right.
it's like a law of averages. It's like you have to make sure everything else is right because so much can go wrong with just the players. So you have to get better at taking better shots, basically. So we'll see.
Here's my bold prediction. In 2 to 3 years, the Milwaukee Crew will be out of Orlando and Alex Martins will still be running the team. Bold prediction.
We'll see.
Bold prediction. All right,
It's not that
ladies.
bold. You have 20 years of evidence to go with you. So it's a prediction. I don't think it's a bold one. Jesus. Bold prediction. The Heat don't take a shot at every single top-tier free agent and
Look,
think that they have a chance.
just like you said, you have 20 years of history on your side. That's going to be it for this week's episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Be sure to follow us on the hardwoodnation.net, our YouTube page, Hardwood Nation, and also Hardwood Nation on Instagram. Please like, share, and subscribe our content. We are out. Thank you, Bryce.
Maybe this will get more than 3 views.